We're excited to announce that we're bringing back Sauna Camp 2.0 on March 20th from 2 to 8 p.m. We had this last year. We had 42 owners. This year, we're maxing out the capacity of the camp, which is going to be 60 people. We're going to have a wellness panel with some Everest summiters, as well as some Iron men and women to compete, and all about wellness and how they prioritize their health and wellness, not only in training, but in their lifestyles and in their business. And then we're going to have a 2 hour window of sauna and cold plunging in the lake, and then an amazing wood fired grill, Mediterranean style food at the end of that. So if you're interested, please head to curiousbuilder.com. Under retreats, you'll find everything there is about Sauna Camp on March 20th in Minnesota. Anytime you're doing a spec home, like, the juice is burning. And so, the days of construction really matter. I mean, they always matter. I mean, whether you're spending your money or a client's money, like, it matters. And so I'd like to think that in general, I think our building community does a really good job of tracking the schedule. All right, welcome to Curious Builder Podcast. I'm Mark Williams, your host. Today is Thursday, our little Q&A session. I got some new updates, which will be kind of fun to talk about here for the next 20 minutes. One is we are launching Sauna Camp again 2.0. So last year in January, we did Sauna Camp. We had 42 builders that came and joined. We were out at Camp Tanaduna on Christmas Lake. It was an amazing experience. We had Dr. Mel Krug led us through some breath work for a half hour, and then we did sauna, cold plunge in the lake, and then had this amazing Mediterranean style meal after. I think that was the highlight. Everyone was just, maybe because everyone was so hungry from salt deprivation in the saunas, the food tasted amazing. So we're running that back. That's going to be March 20th. We just updated the website, so tickets are now available. If you're interested, we do expect this to sell out. Last year we had 42. This time we bought out the camp at 60 people. It's going to be a different location. It's at Lake Independence, which is about 30 minutes west of the Minneapolis area. We had probably 8 people that flew in last year. So we're starting to get some people that really love our winners. I know in Minnesota, we're leaning into them. So we hope to see you there. What's really cool about this particular sauna camp is we decided to do a wellness podcast before the sauna camp. So we've got Ryan Rivard. He's climbed Mount Everest. He's given talks about it. I know he talks a lot about addiction and overcoming it, things like that, as well as he's an Ironman finisher, Leadville 100 finisher. He's got a ton of athletic achievements. And so I just want to talk about, how wellness has impacted his life and how he uses it in his business. We also have Alex Larson, who's a professional nutritionalist and an Ironman finisher as well. Or I should say Iron Woman finisher. She's amazing. And then we're going to have one more person we have yet to name. I believe they're a psychiatrist. We're still working through what the angle is there. But I just thought it'd be really fun to have a different angle on the podcast. So that'll be to that small audience. We'll, of course, record it and re-air it for the audience at large. And if you're interested, please go to curiousbuilder.com and you can join us at Sauna Camp on March 20th. We'll also be seeing that in our newsletters here going out as well if you subscribe to our newsletters. If you don't, I'd recommend it because that's where you're going to find all the updates and kind of the sneak peeks and promo codes that we send out there. We are a week and a half away. Actually, by the time this episode airs, we'll be 8 days away from Contractor Coalition. We are essentially sold out, which is amazing. I think they've had a streak now of 3.5 years of selling out Contractor Coalition Summit in Chicago, which is amazing. There's also our next one is going to be next spring in Denver, which is going to be great. So we'll give it a little, probably 30, 40 days of breathing. You've heard me talk a lot about Contractor Coalition, but the next one will be, I think it's in April, will be in Denver. So that'll be a great location. And then I'm really excited. I'm actually heading out to Boston this week. A lot of people know a friend of the show, Nick Schiffer from NS Builders. He's my business partner at Contractor Coalition Summit. He's been building this house for the last couple of years called 45 White Oak. If you haven't checked it out, head to nsbuilders.com. It's an incredible house. I've never seen a house with this much attention to not only detail, but really just the depth of execution and the depth of vision that Nick has had, to what he wants to build here. And so I'll report next week after I go out there about the things that really impressed me. We're going to actually do kind of a ride along video where I'm going to be mic'd up. Nick will be mic'd up, and we'll kind of be doing kind of a, not really a podcast episode, but kind of almost like a ride along. And it's just going to be the Curious Builder takes to visit to Boston and gets to check out this incredible house. So he's probably 30, 45 days away from being 100% finished. And if you've been following along on his Instagram feed, you know this home is something really special. I think one of the things that identifies it the most is like, he took a trip with his team to Germany to like the Black Forest to single source all the white oak in the house. I mean, who does that? Nick does, evidently. And so I'm just so excited. I know his thought process and his just commitment to what he wants to bring forward to this highest level of not only building science, but execution of design. I'm just really, really excited to see, the lessons that he's learned. I want to see it in person, of course. And there are quite a few parallels between what he's done and what I'm doing at Mysa Hus here in Cottagewood, Minnesota. So Mysa Hus, we just did a live podcast last week to all the sponsors, which is really, really encouraging. We closed it down. It was just to 27 of our brand partners. And I interviewed Mark Cabrera and Mark Brandenhoff from Pella Windows, as well as Rockwell and Huber. And really, it was just to show to our community and to our sponsors what it is we're doing. We'll air that podcast in a couple of weeks. And I think this is something I probably want to do on a more regular basis at the homes that we build. I sort of benefit from the fact that I don't build that many homes, meaning that we build really high-end homes, but we only build a handful of them. So we're building probably anywhere from 4 to 7 projects. Obviously, these projects takes a long time. So, if they're on a 1.5-year cadence, I might only actually close 3 or 4 a year. We might be working on 5 to 7, depending on where they're at in design. And so I just like this idea of we shut the job down for a day, and we've got snacks and food and lunch and all those things, and just really take a time out to really appreciate what we're doing and what we're accomplishing. That was really gratifying. We'll also do a couple more at the end. And so right now my mind is, Nick is about a year further advanced than I am with 45 White Oak. He's announced the sale price. I think it's in the $12 million range. He's announced, what his goals are. He's getting ready to stage it. He's got the New York Times interested in doing an article in the mansion sections. He's got, photographer flying out of country so that they can appeal to a worldwide base. Because, Nick's ultimate goal is to build the coolest homes in the world all over the world. And so this is really his proof of concept. It's quite a bit different than what my concept is with Mysa Hus, but again, a lot of similarities. And he and I are actually, if you're going to Contractor Coalition in Chicago, Nick and I are doing a tandem talk for about 45 minutes, all about branding. And Nick's going to talk about 45 White Oak and all the things that he has tried to do in terms of branding and what it means to have a clear vision and how the team coalesces around it. And as a leader, how do you convey your message to not only your people, your tradespeople, your craftsmen, your architecture designers, all your partners, but also to your end user. And I'll talk about the same thing that I'm doing for Mysa Hus. For me specifically, I can talk about it a little bit now, is I didn't want to come to market like most homes are brought to market. I wanted to do something creative, something unique, something different. And so for me, when you build a spec home that's for sale, there's no end user. And so you really have to pick, is it an empty nester couple? Is it a young family? And it's hard if you appeal to everybody, you sort of appeal to nobody, in my opinion. And I felt like if you get too specific, then you sort of alienate everybody anyway. And so for me, what really unlocked it was wellness. And because of Sauna Camp, because of boot camp, because of, all the natural interests that I have in natural health and just how I feel, like I felt like this house was sort of a manifestation of all the things that I personally value in terms of like a wellness, but also on a structural design on those levels too. It's like the two meet together. And I couldn't be more excited about this house. And which is sort of interesting because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Like obviously we market what we're doing. If you haven't followed us, you can go to our Instagram page. It's Mysa Hus, Hus. Obviously you see it on our MDW page as well, and our Curious Builder, because we're doing a ton of cross promotion between all 3 brands. But come to find out, granted, we just finished all the rough-ins and we're insulating. And it kind of came to a head. I got an email last week from one of our trade partners just saying how frustrated they were, with the project. And I guess it's falling in line with our fail Thursdays. I guess I'm going here now. And it was really disheartening because I love this house. I'm having the time of my life. I could not be more proud of the home and how we're executing on it. And I know I've picked just the best people, the best trades, the best designers. I mean, we are just everyone is putting forth a effort. There's no bad actors here. But when I talk to my project manager, and Mike is very quiet, he doesn't, rock the boat too much. He just kind of gets through it. And he just said, yeah, actually, all the trade partners have been frustrated with this house. And I was like, really? All of them? And I talked to the architect and the designers. Everybody's frustrated, evidently, except for me, which kind of reminds me of that old adage that, if you walk into a room and you don't know who the idiot is, it's you. And so I guess maybe I'm the problem. And I think I know what the problem is. This episode is brought to you by Adaptive. If you're still chasing checks and juggling spreadsheets, it's time to upgrade. Adaptive is revolutionizing how builders get paid with AI-powered bill pay, automated draws, one-click payments, and built-in lien waivers. Faster payments, fewer headaches, and total visibility. Adaptive takes care of the back-end chaos so you can focus on what you do best, building. We've used Adaptive for 2.5 years and trust them to keep our projects moving and payments flowing. Learn more at adaptive.build and simplify the pay process today. For more information, you can also listen to episode 10 and episode 15. This episode is brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors. I've used Pella for 21 years as the exclusive window company on every one of my builds. When people ask me who I trust for windows and doors, it's Pella, every time. Their craftsmanship, their innovation, the top tier service make them a no-brainer for any custom home builder or designer who demand the best. Whether you're designing something bold or building something with timeless elegance, Pella has you covered. They're also the only window company that has a lifetime warranty on all of their windows. I've gotten to know all of their people at Pella Corporate as well as locally here at Pella Northland. I'm proud to call them our partners and our friends. Visit Pella.com to learn more and connect with your local reps today. For more information, you can also listen to episode 1, where I interview the Pella Northland founders, as well as episode 109, where we talk all about their latest innovation with the Steady Set window. How we talk on the podcast all the time, and I know I've certainly talked about it, that if we change our operation for a client, because we're trying to, the client says, hey, I want to be involved with selections, or I want to do project manager, whatever ridiculous scenario. As a custom home builder or someone who's an entrepreneur, like you should not let your client dictate how you run your job. Like they're attracted to your company because you do good work. And your body of work represents why they're attracted to you. So if they want the same body of work, if they want to fulfill the dream that they see in you, then you need to tell them how this ship rolls. Christopher Columbus didn't let the passenger drive his ship, like he was driving the ship. I think the mistake that I made was, and this is my fault. I took 100% ownership of this. I sent out an email to every trade partner, my design partner, my architect partner, and I just said, this is my fault. And I think what it was a gap in leadership. And you think, well, how could that be? I'm talking about Mysa Hus day and night. Like, how is there not leadership there? And I think what I did was I I was so aware of how I wanted the pro of I assembled the team, and I still believe that I have the best team. So it's not that. It's just that I essentially delegated the decision making to, essentially unfairly to my design team. And it wasn't fair because I said, "Hey, you make all the decisions and just go." And that would be fine if they could actually do that, but they sort of had one hand tied behind their back because we're working on a lot of brand deals. I'm working on a lot of other, national accounts trying to bring awareness to what we're doing here, and we're doing a lot of trade for materials, things like that. And so, they would go out, select something. I would see the pricing, like, ooh, that's way too high. Or, oh, guess what? I just got a new partner, and now we need to figure out this. So it was a little chaotic, not a little chaotic, a lot chaotic. And it really wasn't fair to the design team because they now have the responsibility of being the designer and the GC. And that's not fair. And I apologize to them. That's my fault. And so, even today in our operations meeting, like we're essentially as a team, we're huddling, getting all the decisions back in line and saying, hey, you know what, going forward, this is how we're going to proceed. You'd like to think after 21 years of doing this, you'd learn your lesson. But, here I did it again. We keep on making mistakes. So anyway, this is, I guess, my mea culpa, my apology to my team podcast. It wasn't meant to be that, but I guess here we are. So, but I'm still excited. I'm still completely undaunted. Everyone's, there, everyone's on board. Everyone wants to do their best work. And so it just reminds me again that as much as we communicate, we can just we can never not communicate enough. No one is ever going to say, stop communicating with me. You're communicating too much. They could ignore you or delete the emails or phone calls, but no one's ever going to say, no one's ever complained and said, oh, you've communicated too much. So anyway, back to where I was going with this with brand is I'm excited to basically do this presentation with Nick, about Mysa Hus and just talk about what we're doing with brand and kind of really get into it, because I would love, obviously the proof is in the pudding. We'll see when we get to the end here. The home is going to be finished in May for Mysa Hus. It'll be in the Artisan Home Tour in June. And we're going to do a number of live events there. We'll probably do 5 or 6 different events. Like, I'm really heavy on the entertainment side. One thing I've noticed is just, I love to educate and I love to entertain, and doing both is obviously magic. And so I believe heavily in, how can we entertain when people come through our home? I think it's a little bit like if you have guests over to your house, it's not like you just feed them dinner and then you go eat in the living room while they, eat in your dining room alone. That'd be weird. Like, there's the art of how you entertain your guests. And, I think it's really no shade on however the builders like to do it, but I have just found so much success and honestly enjoyment in engaging with people differently when they come through our homes. I love giving them something unexpected, a little gift, a little something from me to you to remember this home by. Maybe it's a bag. Maybe seen people do custom cookies. I love live music. There's just so many things. I don't think it's one thing. I think it's a series of things. Also, community involvement. How can you get your local cities and communities and towns or kids involved? We've done in the past where we'll do like a kids scavenger hunt, or we'll have kids come on. You got to be a little careful with this one. You can't have too many. And, obviously there's some probably insurance issues you should check with your insurance provider, which is oddly enough, my insurance guy called while I was having this podcast. He must have known I was going to do something that would be a little risky. But we all want younger generations involved with homes. And, I remember asking an excavator one time, like, at what age do people what do kids like stop being super interested in excavating equipment? His comment was like, somewhere around like 9 or 10 years old. So like those early years though, like everyone wants to be a digger and everyone wants to, see the construction going up, which is great. Captivate on that energy, involve the kids in your community, involve them in your home. We try to do that consistently, on all of our homes. Really, we'll send out like a letter to all the community and say, hey, apologies in advance for disturbing. We do a lot of tear down, so disturbing your neighborhood. We're really excited to build, a home in your community. We'll be here for the long haul. Please reach out to us if you have any comments and concerns. But just kind of getting ahead of that messaging and letting them know that you care about what you're doing. And you have to obviously do it. If you don't, it's going to show up pretty clearly. So anyway, back to the branding side of it, I'm just really excited to see, what are some of the lessons that Nick has learned. There's also the part of it where you've got finance. Anytime you're doing a spec home, like, the juice is burning. And so, the days of construction really matter. They always matter. Whether you're spending your money or a client's money, like, it matters. And so I'd like to think that in general, I think our building community does a really good job of tracking the schedule. I think one thing I didn't do a good enough job on earlier on in my career is setting realistic expectations, both with the homeowner and even with our team. So now I usually ask I don't set a schedule. I haven't set a schedule in 5 or 6 years. And it's really up to the project management team to convey, like, how much time do they need? I'm, getting far and farther away from the day to day. It's not fair for me to go in there and say, oh, I think you should be able to do drywall in 7 days, when they've already talked to the partner. They already know it's going to take 13 days and then an extra day for touch-ups, things like that. So, like, trust your team. The thing that's probably been the most helpful in terms of timing is that 30-day window at the end. I spoke about this before, but I'll speak about it now because I was just looking at my schedule. We're going to be done in May, and then I have this 30-day period before the tour starts in June, which is great. It allows us to get photography, final cleaning, take advantage of some marketing, maybe some television, things like that. Because now you have a finished home, where it seems like we're always just finishing right before the house is ready. And it's always just really stressful on the team and on the people. And so it's nice to have this 30-day window. So a couple of years ago, I actually learned this from, I can't remember if it was Brad or Nick at Contractor Coalition Summit, but they talked about this 30-day, I think it was Brad, this 30-day finish schedule. And we have it built right into our Builder Trends schedule, where it says that whenever you get your certificate of occupancy from the city, it's 30 days after that you can move in. And I remember for the majority of my career, call it 18 years, the clients would move in within 4 or 5 days of having that CO. I mean, you're just, as we all know in construction, you're going up to the last minute to get it done. Then you do a final walkthrough with the client, and they give you their list of things that they don't find satisfactory, or you've gone through and kind of pre-punched it out. But now you have like 4 days, you get it done on a Monday, they move in on a Friday. You got 4 days to do like 3 weeks worth of work. Like, it's just not going to happen. And then you spend 6 months scheduling around their schedule. Now they're in the home, their movers dinged up some walls, but guess what? You'll just take care of it. So it's costing you money. It's costing you a ton of time, but honestly, it's costing you a ton of capital with the client, because no matter how good you do it, it's not very efficient. And no matter how you do it, it's really inconvenient for the client. And they just want to be done. They've been building and designing with you for a couple of years. Like, they want to live and enjoy their house. So if you tell them on the beginning, before you ever start, like, hey, this is our normal protocol and we have 30 days at the end, like, they don't bat an eye. I've never had a client question me. And guess what? Now we don't have to chase it. Now, anything that happens after they move in, no problem, goes on the 1-year list. That's not punch list items. That's callback. That's 1-year performance. So it just goes on the list. And then after 1 year, we do our performance walkthrough. I think I even want to change how that is. I think we should really schedule that 1-week punch list, for like a week when they're out of town, and just say, hey, we need you out of the house for this 1 week. Can we schedule it around one of your vacations? We'll come in obviously ahead of time, document everything. You let us know when you're going to go on. We'll come in, we'll knock it all out. We'll have the house cleaned. You move back in, everything's done. It's so difficult to go in and out of people's homes, especially if they have young kids, babies, things like that. It's just not the best. And so I'm just thinking about different ways to make sure that a client stays happy. So anyway, a little bit, you got the variety show today on the Q&A. This is what happens when I don't have a guest. I'm just distracting myself. So you got a little bit of everything. Hope you enjoyed it. That's an update from the Curious Builder. See you next week. Thanks for tuning in to the Curious Builder podcast. If you like this episode, do us a favor, share it with 3 other business owners. The best way that we can spread what we're doing is by word of mouth, and with your help, we can continue to help other curious builders expand their business. Please share it with your friends, like and review online, and thanks again for tuning in.